From the outrageous taste of the first fruit-flavored Coke to time traveling with Marty McFly, let's revisit some of the things we experienced because that's how good we had it. Remember Freddie Mercury's performance at Live Aid? How about trying to moonwalk like Michael Jackson? Did your Saturday mornings begin with tiny blue forest creatures? Be sure to stick around because this once small tech company is the reason why we love watching commercials on Super Bowl Sunday. Cherry Coke. Take a moment and think of all the different versions of Coke. Which one stands out above the rest? We bet it's Cherry Coke. Coca-Cola's first flavored Coke was introduced at a trade show in 1982 World's Fair Energy Expo. The same year, Diet Coke was introduced. For years, people had been adding cherry-flavored syrup to their Coke. Finally, in 1985, Coke caught on, and Cherry Coke came to the mainstream and became an instant hit. If you grew up in the 80s, you remember Cherry Coke commercials. People were having so much fun singing the slogan,
Cherry Coke! Outrageous!
The taste of Coke improved with some fruity cherry flavor. Today, Cherry Coke accounts for 6% of the total share of Coca-Cola. Cherry Coke paved the way for other flavored versions like vanilla and lemon Coke, although they didn't last very long. People to this day love the sweet and fruity taste, and it's inspired Pepsi and other competitors to take a stab at offering cherry products. Back to the Future and DeLorean. If you asked someone in the 80s what the future would be like, they would say we'd have flying cars by now, but what we got instead is Tesla. Back to the Future was not only a summer blockbuster movie, it captured the imagination of multiple generations. Who wouldn't want to travel through the space-time continuum in a DeLorean with Marty McFly and the kooky but brilliant Doc Brown? Even if he sometimes got his calculations wrong and sent you back 30 years into the past. Many fans of the movie have no idea that a DeLorean was not in the original script of the movie. Filmmakers initially considered using a refrigerator as a time machine, which makes sense if you're ballin' on a budget. After all that, a DeLorean cost the production team around $22,000 and couldn't keep your Cherry Coke cold on set. Luckily, the success of the movie paid for 6 other DeLoreans while making the trilogy, and the vehicle will forever be deeply revered in the hearts of fans. Until they remake the movies and botch the attempt.
Great Scott!
Live Aid Charity Concert. Before crowdfunding and GoFundMe pages, the way to raise serious money for charity was with a broadcast television telethon. On July 13, 1985, we had Live Aid, a benefit concert held simultaneously at Wembley Stadium in London and JFK Stadium in Philadelphia. Musicians Bob Geldof and Midge Ure organized the event that raised funds to combat famine in Ethiopia and Sudan. This massive concert was broadcast to an estimated 1.9 billion viewers across 150 countries. That's 16 times more than the highest Super Bowl ever recorded of 114 million viewers. The lineup of the event was basically the entire music industry with David Bowie, Elton John, Sting, U2, Madonna, Paul McCartney, Tina Turner, just to name a few. While those were all impressive, Queen stole the show with what is widely considered the best live music performance of all time. The YouTube video of their performance has a massive 47 million views. The lucky ones were the ones that actually got to see it. It must have been amazing. $127 million were raised for Ethiopia and Sudan, and it is still the record for the largest charity concert in history. Live Aid helped bring global attention to the humanitarian crisis in Africa. Michael Jackson. When you think of Michael Jackson in the 80s, you only have to say one word: Thriller. That music video was all anybody was talking about in 1982. Even till this day, people want to get dressed up as zombies and do the Thriller dance on Halloween. It is timeless and went on to be the best-selling album of all time. The next year, he had another hit with Billie Jean and decided to moonwalk for the first time during his live performance. MJ was the king of pop, but he was much more than commercial success. He broke down racial barriers with his music, not just singing, but appealing for us to all just accept and love one another, often speaking out on social injustice. He and Lionel Richie wrote a charity single, We Are the World. It was performed by a supergroup of artists called USA for Africa, which included Stevie Wonder, Kenny Rogers, Tina Turner, and Billy Joel, just to name a few. The song was sung during the Live Aid event. In 1987, Michael Jackson had more hits with Bad, Smooth Criminal, and The Way You Make Me Feel. By the end of the 80s, he hadn't even reached his prime. He had much more to offer well into the 90s. Members-only jackets. Nothing said you were living in the 80s quite like a members-only jacket. These sleek jackets with zippered pockets and signature collar straps were hot. Or should we say, cool. If you wanted to be cool, you had to join this exclusive club. Members only. Not really. All you needed to do was head over to the mall and fork over some cash to get the look. They were marketed as a status symbol among fashion-conscious consumers, and they lived up to the hype. They had a variety of colors and styles, but the classic bomber jacket was the most popular. By the late 80s, the fashion trend had faded, but if you grew up in the 80s, you remember how sought after these jackets were.
Now this is a jacket.
Aviator glasses and Top Gun. In the 80s, you couldn't even think of stepping outside without some shades, it was so bright. Not just any pair of shades would do. You needed a pair of aviator glasses, just like the ones worn by Tom Cruise as Maverick in 1986's Top Gun, the movie about pilots training for airborne combat, friendship, and, of course, getting the girl. Maverick was as cool as a cucumber. He had the bomber jacket and the aviators to complete the look. Aviator glasses were designed for pilots in the 1930s, but in 1986 they became a much-needed fashion accessory. The glasses worn by Cruise in the movie were Ray-Bans, specifically the RB3025 model with a gold frame and green lenses. After 36 years, in 2022, Paramount Pictures brought back the franchise with Top Gun: Maverick, an instant summer blockbuster. Why? Because a whole new generation needed to know what a gum-smacking aviator glasses wearing American looked like.
Come on, Mav. Don't think. Just do.
Smurfs. In the 80s, your Saturday mornings consisted of watching cartoons of half-naked little blue men, except for one female. They all lived in a village together in the forest and had adventures combating an evil wizard and his cat. You sang the catchy theme song that opened the show, and anytime they sang it.
Now you know the tune.
The show appealed to children with cute, lovable, and relatable characters with distinct personalities and roles in the village. Who couldn't relate to Sleepy Smurf? Every episode, the evil wizard, Gargamel, and his cat, Azrael, were always scheming to capture them. The Smurfs were smart, hardworking, and resourceful to always come out on top and thwart Gargamel. Good always triumphs over evil. 80s kids couldn't get enough of them. Smurf merch, including toys, clothing, books, and even school accessories, flew off the shelves back then. They made sure you started your weekends on a happy note, ready to take on the day. Sun-In Hair Lightener. If the 80s had a smell, what did it smell like? It would smell like hydrogen peroxide and lemon juice. We were putting Sun-In in our hair to achieve our dreams of looking like we spent all day at the beach, even if some of us lived in Minnesota. This hair lightening spray was marketed as a way to lighten your hair naturally using the sun's rays, which gave you a sun-kissed look. If you doused enough of it, you'd look like Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High or Heather Locklear by the end of the summer, which was mostly bogus. Anyone not already blonde wound up with strange shades of red and orange. Believe it or not, Sun-In is still available on drugstore shelves today. NES Nintendo Entertainment System. There's probably nothing more that can transport you back to your childhood in the 80s than the NES Nintendo Entertainment System. It was at the top of every Gen X kid's wish list come Christmas time. You knew Santa does exist and your parents loved you. They spent $199.99 plus tax back in the mid-80s to get you this gaming console. That's about $500 in today's terms. If you were not at the playground or at the arcade, you spent countless afternoons and weekends with your friends playing classic games like Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! As Mario, you jumped, bumped, threw fireballs on your way to save the princess. The sights and sounds of 8-bit glory. So nostalgic. 1984 Apple Macintosh Super Bowl ad. In 1984, you were watching the Los Angeles Raiders beating down the Washington Redskins in Super Bowl 18. It's the third quarter. Cut to a commercial. Inside a spaceship, young bald men dressed in drab, gray, dusty uniforms marching in unison towards a large screen. Sirens are blaring. An old man, authoritarian figure, is addressing them. Suddenly, a young woman from the Olympics bursts into the room and hurls a hammer at the screen while being chased by the riot police. You think this is a movie trailer? No, it's a commercial for a personal computer called Macintosh from Apple. What did I just watch? What does it all mean? That's a lot to unpack in just a minute. Inspired by George Orwell's novel 1984 and directed by Ridley Scott, the commercial depicted a dystopian future where people were oppressed by old fuddy-duddy IBM. Bang! In comes Apple, here to free the people from conformity and represent the spirit of individuality and innovation. With the Macintosh, it introduced many Americans to a small company called Apple and led them to buy a personal computer for the very first time. The ad resulted in 72,000 Macintosh computers sold in just 100 days, and the lasting impact of Apple, the PC industry, and effectiveness of Super Bowl commercials. The 80s was filled with innovation, creativity, and unforgettable moments that shaped who we are today. From iconic fashion trends like members-only jackets and aviator sunglasses to classic movies such as Back to the Future and Top Gun, the 80s were a decade like no other. If you like this video, give it a like and share it with your friends and family. Ask them about what they remember about the 80s and see what stories they have to tell.